SuperMindz.
Once upon a time, in a lively meadow, there lived a diligent ant named Andy and a carefree grasshopper named Greg. Andy the ant was a hard-working fellow. He believed in planning for the future and worked tirelessly to gather food for the upcoming winter. On the other side of the meadow, Greg the grasshopper was more interested in playing his guitar and enjoying the present moment. Andy says, "Greg, winter is coming soon. You should start preparing and gathering food." "Oh, Andy, relax. There's plenty of time. Let's enjoy the sunshine and music," said Greg. As the days grew colder, Andy had more than enough food stored in the ant hill, but poor Greg found himself hungry and cold. Greg was shivering as he said, "Andy, can you spare me some food? I did not prepare for winter and now I'm starving." Andy said, "Greg, I warned you about preparing for winter. It's important to plan ahead." Greg realized his mistake and said, "You were right, Andy. I should have listened." And so, Greg learned the importance of hard work and planning for the future, while Andy's kindness taught him the value of compassion and understanding. The meadow flourished again in the spring, reminding everyone that a balance of hard work and enjoying the present is the key to a happy life. The Honest Woodcutter. Once upon a time, there was a hard-working woodcutter who lived in a small village. Every day, he went into the forest to chop wood, which he sold in the market to earn a living. He was known throughout the village for his honesty and kindness. One day, while chopping wood near a river, the woodcutter accidentally dropped his axe into the water. The river was deep and fast, and the axe quickly sank out of sight. The woodcutter was very upset because he needed the axe to earn his living. He sat down by the riverbank and began to weep. Suddenly, the river goddess appeared before him. She had heard his cries and decided to help. "Why are you crying, good woodcutter?" she asked. The woodcutter looked up in surprise and said, "I have lost my axe in the river, and I cannot do my work without it." The river goddess smiled kindly and said, "Don't worry, I will help you." She dove into the water and soon emerged with a shiny golden axe. "Is this your axe?" she asked. The woodcutter looked at the golden axe and shook his head. "No, that is not my axe," he said. "Mine is just an old, simple iron axe." The river goddess nodded and disappeared into the water again. This time she returned with a silver axe. "Is this your axe?" she asked again. The woodcutter looked at the silver axe and again shook his head. "No, that is not my axe either," he said. "Mine is just a plain iron axe." The river goddess smiled even warmly at his honesty. She dove into the river one more time and came back with the woodcutter's old iron axe. "Is this your axe?" she asked. The woodcutter's face lit up with joy. "Yes, that is my axe. Thank you so much," he exclaimed. The river goddess was so pleased with the woodcutter's honesty that she gave him all 3 axes: the gold one, the silver one, and his own iron one. "You have shown great honesty," she said. "As a reward, you may keep all 3 axes." The woodcutter was overjoyed and thanked the river goddess for her kindness. He returned to the village and shared his story with everyone. The villagers were amazed by his honesty and the goddess' generosity. From that day on, the woodcutter continued to work hard. But now he had enough to live comfortably and help others in need. He remained honest and kind, and his story spread far and wide, teaching everyone the value of honesty. And that's the story of the honest woodcutter. Tortoise and the Hare. Once upon a time, in a peaceful meadow, there lived a speedy hare and a slow-moving tortoise. The hare was very proud of how fast he could run, and he loved to boast about it. One day, while hopping around, he said, "I'm the fastest animal in the whole forest. No one can beat me in a race." The tortoise, who was very wise and calm, heard the hare's bragging and said, "I may be slow, but I can still race you if you'd like." The hare laughed and said, "You race me? You're so slow. You'd never even get halfway before I'd finished the race." But the hare was feeling quite confident and agreed to the race, thinking it would be an easy win. The next day, all the animals gathered to watch the big race. The hare and the tortoise lined up at the starting line. With a ready, set, go, the hare darted off like lightning, while the tortoise started at a slow, steady pace. The hare was so fast that he soon reached the finish line, but he was so sure he would win the race, so he decided to take a nap under a shady tree. "I have plenty of time," he thought. "I rest a little while, then finish the race." Meanwhile, the tortoise kept moving slowly but surely, step by step. He did not stop or get distracted. As the hare slept soundly, the tortoise continued on his way. After a while, the hare woke up and stretched. He looked around and saw the tortoise far behind. "I'll take my time getting to the finish line," he thought, feeling very confident. After a while, the hare woke up and stretched. He casually made his way to the finish line. But to his surprise, as the hare got closer, he saw that the tortoise were already near the finish line. The tortoise was moving steadily, never stopping, and soon crossed the finish line before the hare could even catch up. The crowd of animals cheered for the tortoise. The hare, feeling embarrassed, realized that he had underestimated his friend. He learned a valuable lesson. Slow and steady wins the race. The tortoise smiled and thanked the hare for the fun race. From that day on, the hare stopped bragging and respected the tortoise's steady determination. The tortoise and the hare became good friends, and they often laughed about the day when the slow-moving tortoise had won the race. And so, they lived happily ever after, always remembering that even if you're slow, being steady and determined can help you achieve your goals. The Frog Prince. Once upon a time, in a beautiful kingdom, there lived a young princess. She was kind, smart, and loved to play with her golden ball. One sunny day, the princess went to the forest near a cool, clear pond to play. As she tossed her golden ball into the air, it slipped from her fingers and fell into the deep pond. The princess sat by the pond and cried. She didn't know how to get her precious ball back. Suddenly, she heard a voice croak. "Why are you crying, princess?" She looked around and saw a small green frog sitting on a lily pad. "I lost my golden ball in the pond," she said, "and I can't reach it." The frog thought for a moment and said, "I can help you, but what will you give me in return?" The princess thought the frog was silly but said, "I'll give you anything you want, my clothes, my jewels, even my golden crown." The frog shook his head. "I don't want those things. I want you to be my friend. Let me eat from your plate and sleep in your palace." The princess thought about it. She did not believe a frog would really want to live in a palace, so she agreed. "Yes, I promise. Now please get my ball." The frog dove into the pond and after a few moments resurfaced with the golden ball. He placed it on the grass near the princess. She was so happy to have her ball back that she picked it up and ran home, forgetting all about her promise. That evening, the princess was having dinner with her father, the king, and there was a knock at the door. When she opened it, she saw the little frog. He looked up at her with the big sad eyes and said, "Princess, you promised to be my friend. Let me in." The princess was startled and shut the door quickly. She returned to her dinner, but the king noticed that something was wrong. "What's the matter, my dear?" he asked. The princess told her father about the lost ball and her promise to the frog. The king listened carefully and said, "You must keep your promise. Let the frog in." Reluctantly, the princess opened the door, and the frog hopped inside. He sat at the table and ate from the princess' plate. After dinner, the frog said, "I'm tired. Please take me to your room so I can sleep." The princess didn't want to, but her father reminded her of her promise. She carried the frog to her room and placed him on a pillow beside her bed. The frog looked at her and said, "Good night, princess." The next morning, when the princess woke up, she was amazed to see that the frog had turned into a handsome prince. He explained that he had been under a wicked witch spell, and only a kind promise kept by a princess could break it. The prince thanked the princess for her kindness and honesty. They became good friends and spent a lot of time together. Eventually, they fell in love and were married in a grand celebration. The prince and princess lived happily ever after. And that's the story of the Frog Prince.
If you had fun today, give us a thumbs up, share, and subscribe so you don't miss our next adventure.